Thoughts on 3D printing parts or frames if it's carbon fiber? Mark Friedman, you are probably thinking about carbon fiber nylon. There's various nylon, the carbon fiber. I actually saw a carbon fiber PETG and carbon fiber PLA the other day, which was like, that's weird. Didn't know that existed. I think in my experience, historically, when I've heard people talk about printing carbon fiber, it's nylon with carbon fiber infused in it. That makes for incredibly durable parts. And I've known people to print things like cowlings and shrouds and sometimes even certain mounting brackets out of carbon fiber nylon. The problem is that carbon fiber nylon is also very, very stiff. All right. So there are places where you would rather have TPU as your part. For example, an antenna mount, I would argue that TPU is a better choice because TPU will have just that little amount of give in a crash, whereas carbon fiber nylon is going to be rigid and you're going to be more likely to break your antenna. But there are people who want that rigidity, and carbon fiber nylon is a great choice. But as far as printing the frame itself, that still, I think that for most people, carbon fiber sheet is going to be the better choice. Not that you can't design a good carbon fiber nylon frame. You can, but the optimal way to design a carbon fiber nylon 3D printed frame is it's going to be some kind of a one-piece or two-piece enclosure. The shape is going to optimize the sort of strength and stress. So you wouldn't just, there are people who will just print a sheet frame out of carbon fiber. And it's like, no, you have to design to the material that you're using. If you're using carbon fiber sheet, then milling it in 2 dimensions and building the frame out of sheet is the right way to do it. But if you are 3D printing out of carbon fiber nylon, the right way to do it is to design the frame, in 3 dimensions around the strength of that material. And the problem is it becomes very time consuming to print the frame, and it becomes very intensive to build and repair the frame. Most of the time, by the time you've designed a superior carbon fiber nylon 3D printed frame, you're going to put so much more work into making that you might as well just have gone with carbon fiber sheet because it is so much faster to machine, it's faster and easier to build, and it's way, way less expensive. And then Captain Bry, I agree with you there. Even if you optimally design this carbon fiber nylon frame, it's still not, like at the end of the day, you still have arms that the motors go on. And no matter how you design those, you're going to design it in a box tube shape. You're still not going to get the stiffness of, 6 millimeter carbon fiber sheet. So.
But also they're all short chain, right? So like you're not actually getting structural strength or stability.
That's absolutely correct. So the carbon fiber 3D printed, they have little bits of carbon fiber filament in the plastic, but you're not getting actual long carbon fibers like you do with carbon fiber sheet. Yeah. Like everybody thinks they can invent a better mousetrap, if you will. And that's a little bit unfair because actually there are some better mousetraps that have been invented, but it's a bit of a metaphor, I guess. Everybody looks at carbon fiber quadcopter frames and says, well, that's silly. Can't we do it better? And that's cool because someday someone's going to come up with a better mousetrap and they're going to find something better. But it turns out that the reason so many multi-rotor frames use carbon fiber sheet is because when you take into account all the constraints, including the need for stiffness, durability, ease of maintenance, low price, fast manufacturing in large quantities, when you take into account all the considerations, it's actually the best material. CS points out you can mold carbon fiber fabric. Yeah, you can. Absolutely. What's that diatone? What's that diatone frame? The Exorcist 5. Yeah. You mean like this, CF? You mean like this? Here's a molded carbon fiber frame. Do you know why this frame costs $150? And you can't buy it anymore. Oh, look how superior it is. Yeah, it costs $150 instead of that. By the way, that's a pre-inflation price. It was $150 when regular frames were $40 or $50. Now all the frames are $80, $90. It doesn't seem that expensive. And the reason is that you have to mold this frame. It takes so long to mold and cure the frame that you can't make them very fast. And they get super expensive. And then when they break, you have to replace the whole damn thing.
Since we're on the topic.
Yeah.
Mr. Mom Joe asks, why are there not more aluminum frames?
Carbon fiber is lighter than aluminum. I don't know if it's stronger. Aluminum is a really soft metal. But the main thing is that carbon fiber, I think, will flex and bend back, whereas aluminum, once it bends, it stays bent. And aluminum is way more expensive. Yeah. Like, everybody thinks they could... It's not like the people making frames haven't considered this. Yeah. Carbon fiber is lighter. I think I would argue that it's stiffer, although I don't know that that's true. Way cheaper. Why not just use titanium? Yeah, titanium. People have done that. It's so expensive. The thing is, for FPV freestyle frames and racing frames, crashing and breaking them is part of the use case. Okay? And so, no matter how strong your titanium, aluminum, whatever adamantium frame is, it's going to get crashed and it's going to break. And so, the cost is inherently part of the equation. And the fact that carbon fiber is so cheap for its strength and weight is because you're going to have to replace it eventually. It really factors into it. Thank you for 35 South African Rand from Potkas. Do you have a video where you build with single ESCs or go over ProShot 1000 and PWM frequencies? Buying a 4-in-1 ESC to troubleshoot a motor sucks. So, Podcast, I can't remember the last time I built with single ESCs. I just can't. It's been years. I've been, 4-in-1 is just where everybody is at, except on like big cine lifters. So, no. And ProShot 1000 and PWM, all that stuff, modern ESCs should always be using D-Shot. In fact, Betaflight dropped support for ProShot because they just did. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the argument. But basically, D-Shot is the standard. So I don't have a video. I mean, I have a very old video where I go over PWM frequencies. But if you're using PWM frequencies, it means that you're not using D-Shot. And then, like, for multi-rotors, D-Shot is, like, essentially mandatory. Okay? For aircraft and cars and boats, doing PWM into an ESC, that's fine. You don't necessarily need that ultra-high refresh rate. But for multi-rotors, it's mandatory, in my opinion.